Hello and welcome to Paradox, Untold Stories from Athletic Directors with Dr. Danielle Lapointe and Dr. Dustin Smith. We have some crazy and unique stories for you, which are made possible by our sponsor, Wall of Fame. At the Wall of Fame, our mission is to bring your school's legacy to life. We transform school tributes to make it easier than ever to celebrate your whole community, showcasing your school's diverse history, proudest moments, and top role models. We understand that the true value of our Wall of Fame is in your content. Whether you are starting a new tribute or adding to an existing one, we give you all the resources you need to build an interactive experience and take your content to the next level. Speaking of next level, let's check in to see what Danielle and Dustin have for us today.
Today we have Kaz Pata with us. How are you doing today, Kaz?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Great. Happy to have you here with us today. No, you're down in, or you're up, I should say. You're up in Ohio. But and Dustin likes to give the fun long intro, and he's been pretty excited to have you on. I know he has been for the last week. He's been like, I'm excited to have Kaz on. So we're happy to have you here today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and that's a lot of pressure. I feel like I got to live up to it now.
Well, full disclosure, we got Kaz off the golf course. So he went out and shot a blazing round. And we'll let you determine the reason why they call it a green fee is because you get to see all the course, in my opinion, if you play like I play. But man, Kaz comes highly recommended, obviously, from a previous guest from Ohio, Matthew Welsh, who if you go back and listen to his episode, he introduced himself to me at the national conference, and we had a conversation and got Matthew on here and have some ties. But one of the things we found out about Kaz when we were just having the discussion before this is he's been all kinds of things in the world of athletics, whether that's been a coach, a principal, an assistant AD, presently an AD, and he's an AD at Hilliard Bradley High School there in Ohio. And we'll talk about where that is in just a little bit. But Kaz, man, I appreciate you jumping on here. And the thing that we always like to start these podcasts with is tell us what the resume doesn't tell us about who Kaz Pata is so that we can get a picture of who Kaz is outside of being an AD.
Sure. Yeah. Outside being AD, and you kind of alluded to, I've been a coach, I've been an official, been a teacher, in a couple different subject areas. But outside of that, I'm a dad. I have two young daughters, Scarlett, who's a little over 2, and then Vivian, who's about to be 6 months. So my wife and I had 2 kids under 2, which is a handful.
Crazy,
but
some would say, Kaz,
yeah,
not a handful,
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. I was trying to be generous about that. Yeah. So married, I'm a husband, golf enthusiast. Obviously, I still got the polo on from the golf course. Huge Steelers fan. I love to talk about my teams. I grew up just outside of Pittsburgh, so I'm from Eastern Ohio. But in Eastern Ohio, we call it the Ohio Valley, just outside of West Virginia and Pittsburgh. So I grew up a huge Steelers fan. My dad's side of the family actually had season tickets. They just sold them this past year. Since I don't live close, I couldn't take those over. But huge Steelers fan, Pirates fan. I know how bad that sucks to say that. Penguins fan, Pitt Panthers, which is a hard thing to say. Dan Marino's been gone for a long time. So that's dear to me. I love watching my Steelers. My wife will joke on Sunday, like, don't mess with Dad or don't mess with Kaz. He's going to have the Steelers on at 1:00, and that's true. That's like my one getaway, even though it's tied to athletics too. But big Steelers fan, obviously just a big family guy. I love hanging out with my daughters, my family, and having a good time, hitting the golf course when I can, and hanging out with friends, and just a laid back guy. I'm a simple guy. I work in a complex world, but I'm a very, very simple guy. I just like to have a good time and enjoy the little things in life and kind of go with the flow.
But you are the first one who's admitted they're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, not a Steelers fan, a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. I'll go with that. There's not very many people that will fire out that. I'm a Cubs fan, lifelong misery that I've lived in. At least we've won a World Series of late. But the Pirates are not a team that most people are getting behind. Although this year,
No.
I mean, they just won 5 straight, so maybe they're turning the corner.
So exactly, yeah. We'll always start hot. Pirates are that team that always starts hot. It's always like, this is our year, kind of something like Cleveland Browns, right? This is our year, and then it always goes south. So
So I
But
actually, so Cash, just so you know,
yeah.
I don't like, I'm not a Pirates fan at all. I
Mhm.
want to be clear with that. But I live in Bradenton, so that is
Okay.
where all of their spring games and all of their spring training goes on. So their
Yeah.
facility is probably like 10 minutes from my house. So
How about that? Yeah.
you have some fans down here in this area. I don't know any
Sure.
of them, but I'm told they're here.
Yeah. Yeah, we're losing fans left and right, understandably so. But at least the city of Pittsburgh has the Steelers and the Penguins. At least we've won some championships of, recent. So that helps. But yeah, being a Pirates fan is not easy. It is not easy.
Well, I can tell you, it's got one of the best backdrops in all of Major League
Oh,
Baseball that I think is just if that's your selling point of the Pirates,
right.
then, that tells you where you're at. But that bridge is phenomenal, just leading up into it, and obviously overlooking the rivers, plural,
Yeah.
that are there in that area. But
Three Rivers. Yep.
I can sympathize, empathize, whatever you want to say. But I approve and I applaud your loyalty to a team that has not been highly productive, similar to what the Cubs endured for a long, long time.
Yeah, no, thank you. I tried, in college there for a minute when Miami came out with a new team. They had the new logo, Miami Marlins, when they had that new M. I tried to switch over, tried to get away from the Pirates, but I couldn't do it. You love your teams, you got to ride with them, win or lose. So,
And that's kind of like this world of athletic administration. What we've got to do is sometimes the years are great, sometimes they're not so great, but the kids competing and coaches are doing their jobs, and you ride or die with whatever that is and whatever that season looks like. So let's talk about a
absolutely.
little bit about let's first, I like to ask people to paint on the map where you're at exactly. And you talked about Eastern Ohio, but paint exactly on a map where that is, because we have some geographically challenged listeners, and a co-host that doesn't actually know where stuff is all the
That's
time.
not
So
true. He just likes to say that. Don't listen to him.
could you paint
Sure.
on a
Yeah.
map where you're at?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from Eastern Ohio, which I said, is just outside of Pittsburgh, PA, and Wheeling, West Virginia. That's where I'm from, my hometown. But as far as Hilliard Bradley High School, we're in the northwest suburb of Columbus. So, Columbus is right in the heart of Ohio. We're on the northwest side of 270. We call it 270 is the outer belt that makes a big circle around Columbus. So that's where we're at. We're a Division I high school. We have about 1,700 kids in our high school, so we're a big high school. Offer every sport you can think of except for ice hockey is about the only thing we don't offer. So we got it all, which is way different from where I'm from. Where I'm from, small town Ohio. I graduated with 120. Graduation I was at 2 weeks ago. We had 415. So just different when I'm from what I'm from, but I've experienced small and big schools, and it's a great place to be. Hilliard's it was a small town at one time. Obviously it's grown, so it has that small town feel, even though it's now one of the biggest suburbs in all of Columbus.
On Columbus, do you know what's in Columbus, Danielle?
I mean, there's a lot of things in Columbus. I don't understand where you're going with this.
Is there a major college in Columbus? Let's go there.
Well, yeah. I'm not
Starts
playing
with
this game
V.
with you. No.
It's only 4 letters. You can start with that.
No, I'm not playing this game with you. I refuse.
Okay. It's Ohio State, just so you know.
Yeah,
They call
I
it
know.
the
Everybody
Ohio
knows.
State.
The Ohio State, and you can't get that wrong in Columbus. Trust me. You don't make that mistake.
So let me ask you this question, Kaz. As we talked about beforehand, you've had some experiences, we'll say, and we talk about the untold stories from an AD's chair. But I want to ask you about being an official, and something that, as being an official, is there a story that you've dealt with, or a crazy parent or a crazy coach that sticks out in your mind that you say, you know what, this is an experience that I can't really believe this happened?
Yeah, there's several. So just to give you background, I officiated football for several years, basketball, and softball. So, I had 3 different sports. Softball, I could probably tell you several. As a sport that's losing officials, I umpired a lot of games by myself. So I'm going to tell you one with softball real quick that just kind of blew my mind. And then I'll tell you one with basketball as well. But umpiring softball, JV softball game. This would have been about 2 years ago. And now, what I just said is I was the only umpire, right? So I'm behind the plate, calling balls and strikes. I don't have a field umpire. So if there's a play at second base, and there's a play at home, you only have one set of eyes, right? So there was a play at home, bang, bang play. Girl slides in home. I think she gets under the tag, so she's safe. Now, meanwhile, in softball, you can't leave the base early and go to another base, right? So there's a timing thing there too. So when the hit was made, this coach was claiming that this girl left first base early and got to second, and then therefore when this play came, was leaving second, and the throw came down to second, and she thought, this coach thought she was out. Now, I'm looking at home plate, right? So this girl is sliding into
There's
home,
one of
and I
you.
have a bang, bang play. And I make that call, right? This girl was safe. There was no argument there. He came over to me after, time and said, "Hey, I think you missed the play at second." I said, "No, coach, I don't know if you noticed, but there was a bang, bang play at home in which I called her, his runner safe. But you saw where my eyes, right? You saw my feet, my positioning. You saw where I was looking. How in the hell am I going to see that play at second base?" Like,
So you're not even trying to argue it with him. You're just
no chance.
yeah.
I'm like, coach, like, where you saw me. You saw where I was at. Like, what do you possibly want me to say about the play at second base? I mean, what do you want me to say? And he was just like, well, I thought maybe she left a little, or like whatever. I don't even remember what he said, but I'm just thinking, there's one of me. I made the call here. There's no way I could see that. What do you want me to do? Reverse it? You know what? This coach said he saw it. I trust him. Let's reverse it. And then we're going to, PO all these people on this side off. Like, are you serious? Like, do you hear what you're saying? Just stuff like that. Like, being a coach, too, at one time, I would never even ask the umpire that. Why even bring it up? Why even bring it up?
Well, especially when you're like, I don't know, I don't want to say doing a favor, but kind of doing a favor by doing it alone.
Exactly.
And then,
so the one in basketball, I'll tell you, and you hear this a lot, and you guys will probably be able to, confirm that you've heard this too. So there's a lot of parents and some coaches that I've coached with or alongside that think over the back is a foul. That think over the back is a foul in the basketball rule book. Well, it's not. There is no such thing as over the back. Okay, so in basketball, it is either if someone was going up to get a offensive rebound and there's a defender boxing him or her out, it would either be a push, so you push that defender, you push that person out of the way, or you hold them. So the amount of parents that you get that will yell over the back, and they're signaling like this, over the back. I'm like, man, there's no such thing. Like, have you ever seen any official blow their whistle and signal this and give a number? Like, it does not exist. There's no such thing. So the amount of parents that you would get that would call that. So, during a timeout and, the end of the first period, I went over, I said, ma'am, like, just so you understand, and I'm just being honest with you, there's no such thing as over the back. Like, it either has to be a hold, like your daughter would have to be getting held down physically or pushed directly out of the way. And she wasn't boxing out. So maybe you need to have a conversation with her on how to properly box out. So it's just the things that you hear, it's just like, learn the rule book, And, if you really want it, here's my shirt. I'll unbutton it right now. Here's my shirt. Here's my whistle. You can even keep the shoes. Hope you wear size 11. Like, good luck, good luck. So, yeah, you hear a lot of stuff, but that one stands out because you hear it, and I hear it now as an AD too, as a coach, over the back from the stands all the time. So next time you're watching basketball, listen for that because you'll hear it, and I promise you it does not exist.
Well, and all of them think they're really smart and really know what they're doing
and really correct
and really loud.
Yes, and that's why you got to hit them with, hey, we're at a shortage for officials, and sometimes you got to kill them with kindness. Like, you seem to really know what you're talking about. I tell you what, I can get you in hold with the assigner. He can get you signed up. We'll even pay for your equipment. We'll get you a shirt, a whistle, a pair of shoes, a pair of pants. Like, hey, you know it all. Let's get you out there. Let's do this thing. That's the quickest way to zero. That's the quickest way to shut them up, though. Because until you're out there and doing it yourself, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to be an official. It's hard to be a coach, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. Until you're in those roles, it is very difficult to watch all these things at one time. So I give a lot of credit to all of our officials out there who are still going strong. Having done it, I know how tough it is. Our coaches too put in a lot of time, a lot of hours to catch a lot of slack too. I mean, hats off to all of them.
So let me ask you this: you weren't doing this game by yourself, right?
No, no, that basketball game you at least had two all the time. So no, and my fellow official, he just laughed too. Like, these people just they don't get it. They don't get it. At a certain point, you just let it go and you block out the entire audience because they just don't understand.
Let me ask you this question. Speaking of not understanding, have you ever seen a 10-second violation on the opening tip?
No, that would be a first. No, and I coached a lot of years. I played a lot of years and officiated. I know. Were you part of that?
I wasn't. I mean, I was broadcasting the game and I saw a 10-second violation on the opening tip, which is extremely hard to do. I've only seen it one time, and I can't find anybody else who's seen it. But instead of going, this court was east and west, they were throwing ball north and south back by the free throw line and couldn't get across the half court stripe, which blew my mind.
Right. Oh, wow. I bet their coach was not happy.
I mean, are you even counting as an official? Are you even counting the backs?
I mean, off the tip, no, typically you're not. Typically
Yeah.
you're not because, there's normally not any pressing. Like you're getting in, you're going right up the floor. Like you might get to 5 seconds typically in that situation. So, no, you wouldn't even start your count.
Which
normally,
I mean, there's stuff you see all the time that just shocks you, and that was one for me that I had never seen, a 10-second violation on the opening tip. And
right
now I've seen them, I can't even say on jump balls now because they just alternate possessions now. So you've got to say
right.
the opening tip now.
Exactly. Yep. That's the only tip you're seeing. Yeah.
Right. So have you ever called a basketball game by yourself?
I did some lower level, some youth games, some rec center games back in my hometown and here in Columbus as well. I was in Reynoldsburg, which is on the eastern suburb of Columbus. I did a few by myself. And I would get younger groups like third and fourth grade, and you would still get parents that would get on you. I might be underneath the hoop on the baseline and they're looking for a foul in the opposite corner, when the ball got swung across. It's like, where I'm positioned, so, and ma'am, it's third grade basketball here. Like there wasn't anything egregious, maybe there was a slight travel, like, your son's been traveling all game, you want me to call that too? So, you just, the things that get brought up, it's just like, what are we doing here? It's third grade,
Well, I think it's great that you'll even start the games or do the games by yourself, because we've had traffic issues in my area where the other officials on the way, but they're still 15, 20 minutes away, and we have officials who won't even start without their partner. But we have other ones who are like, I'll start the game, it's fine, just know that I'm the only one here, both coaches agree to it, and they'll go on. But I also have officials who won't do that. They're like, nope, not till he gets here, and then your whole night is thrown off and delayed. So I am one of the 80s that definitely appreciate your willingness to do that, because it's rough to just be waiting around, and it's no one's fault, right? It's not traffic's fault. It's not the official's fault. They're coming from their job. So I'm completely understanding, but it's nice when you can get started off on time. So I appreciate the fact that you do that.
Absolutely. And it's big. And I understand the officials who don't want to start by themselves because they don't want to be put in that position, which is terrible, because it's not, that's avoiding getting yelled at by the coaches and parents, which we do this for the student athletes. So I hate when we lose that perspective. But yeah, I get it completely.
So speaking of perspective, now that you sit in the AD chair and you've been a coach and you've been an official, is your perspective different towards officials now? Or let me twofold that question. Were you ever thrown out of a game as a coach?
No, I was never thrown out of a game as a coach. To answer that question, I've been teed up before in basketball. I've been warned on the sideline for football. Never got thrown out because I knew that the fine that came with it was pricier than I could afford at the time on a teacher's salary. And I did not want to take the anger management class. So no, I got teed up. Had to sit
wait. If you get thrown out of a game, you have to take an anger management class in Ohio.
Oh yeah. Oh, in the state of Ohio, yes, you have to pay a fine, and I forget if it's $250 or $350, and then you have to take an anger management class, or maybe it's a series of courses. I can't remember it changes almost every year. I'd have to look into it. Thankfully, we didn't have that happen to anyone, but there's either a course or a set of courses you have to take to get reinstated. So yes, it is not worth, coaching and getting kicked out. As funny as that story would be now, at the time, it was not worth that money. So yeah, that's
What a
very real.
great idea. That's a great idea.
It
I
is.
mean,
It
what a
deters a lot of
deterrent.
people.
Yeah, I think that's a
Yes.
great idea. I like it.
Yes. For
So
sure.
what I hear when you say 250 or 350, I'm thinking dollars. $2.50 or $3.50.
Yeah, no.
No, 250 or 350. And I'm thinking it used to be 250, but the reason I say that is because I believe it got raised, which would make sense,
Yeah,
inflation.
inflation. Yeah. Inflation of
Let's just
fines.
let's just call it 300, right? So I mean, it's a big chunk of pay. And a lot of these stipends aren't very, aren't that much. So you're not really reimbursing yourself a lot there. But yeah, never got kicked out. But to answer your other question, as far as officials, I really started to appreciate officials when I became one. And I was the type of player, in football and basketball, and I ran track, so you didn't really deal with officials that much, but that dealt with officials a lot as a captain, as someone around him. And I always appreciated him, but you're young, you're arrogant, you think you're always right. So, I might give him a tough time from here and there. But when I became one eventually, and after seeing it from a coaching perspective, like you really do appreciate it. It's so much harder to see all the angles and see everything that happens. I mean, it's hard. Even the best officials miss things. So I really do appreciate them. The pay is not necessarily great, but the ones who, get into it and do a nice job, they're there for the right reasons. They want to be there for our student athletes. So I really do appreciate them. And so, yeah, I try to be overly nice now. Our officials that come and visit Hilliard Bradley, take care of them, get them water. If they want a hot dog, popcorn, we'll get it to them, But don't ask our concession stand for Gatorade because that's like gold, I guess, apparently. So we can't be handing that out. But, yeah, we definitely take care of them. I have an even better perspective now, having done it and having friends that still do it. It's an important role, and we have a shortage. So honestly, if you have schools and fan bases that aren't treating officials well, they won't come to your school. And it's only getting worse at this point. So we can't afford to lose any more. So we're in that position where if we lose too many, sports will be getting canceled. God forbid that happens because we don't want to deal with that with our student athletes.
Have you ever decided, hey, maybe you have one official and you say, hey, I'll jump out here and help you?
Yeah, a couple summer league events I did actually last year and the year prior to my other school. I did a few basketball games. Yep, jumped out there and did it. Still have my whistle, still carry my shirt with me. It's in my office. Always have a pair of all black shoes close by. So here and there I will, but I let our players know that hey, I'm not going to give you a call. If anything, I'm going to be harder on you. Play through these so-called fouls that you want, or these penalties. Play through it. So, but yeah, I'm still willing to jump in wherever. That when you're in this role as an AD, that you never know what you might have to do. So you got to be prepared for a little bit of everything, and whatever it takes to give our student athletes the best, opportunity and experience. I'm there and I'm ready.
So let's paint this picture. You're at a game. We'll say it's baseball, softball. I really don't care which game it is, but having your referee or your umpire's glasses, being the AD as well, and you hear that parent that's just chirping. You hear them, the student, whatever it may be. What's your action? What do you do? Do you go over and try to be a buffer for the umpire? Do you go over and try to tell the kid to shut up, or the parent, hey, I'm just going to warn you right now? Do you take the step ahead of the officials in that situation?
Normally when that's happening, if it's let's say a softball game, I try to get out of there and go over and visit my baseball game instead, to not have to deal with it. No, normally I listen to it and I let it play out. I don't try to jump on it right away because sometimes, and having been an official, you'll hear someone who gets on you a little bit and then they kind of lay off. So you never know what direction, if it's going to escalate or maybe it's just one or two calls and they kind of back off. But yeah, I keep a keen ear for it. I don't necessarily go right over. I listen for any bad language. Obviously, if there's any name calling, any profanity, I would go, nix that right away because that's just not acceptable. Especially in front of our student athletes. If they're calling names, using profanity, that's they're going to get out of there real quick. So normally I just try to keep an eye on it, listen closely. Hopefully, the majority of the time it plays out pretty smoothly. They might get on them a little bit, but officials are accustomed to that. Unfortunately, at this stage, they know to expect some of that. and they deal with it pretty well. You know, you got to have thick skin, but yeah, you hear for some key words, some key choice words, and you hear that, you go over there, you have a conversation. I try to at least talk to the parent first. Hey, you know, this guy's doing or this girl's doing the best she can. Let's cut him a break here. You know, we all miss calls, and you're sitting, you know, left of home plate here. So I kind of doubt you knew exactly where that ball was yourself. So you know, let's be a little bit more respectful. Let's give them a chance to make it up, you know. But I definitely try to talk to them. I don't go in there all aggressive because that usually just adds fuel to the fire. So go in there, have a quick conversation. You know, let's not let this escalate. Let's let our girls have the best or guys have the best experience they can, and let's move forward. But yeah, sometimes you do though. Sometimes you got to get that person, snatch them up, and I've even had experiences where you had to call the cops to get them out of there. So, you know, it definitely varies.
Which that just blows my mind when we have to get law enforcement involved.
Yes.
I've got a life motto: I don't want to take a punch intended for somebody else. I don't want to step in there and get one of those, and I will wear some chewings from some people sometimes, and they may not like me or the official, usually the official. And if they get thrown out, and then that's the fun when they got to do the walk of shame, and you got to walk them out with them. And they're still letting the official have it and letting you have it because you're doing what the official told you to do and getting them out of there because they weren't doing what they should have been doing. So
Right.
have you done some of those walk of shames with parents or with fans that you've had
Oh,
to escort them out?
yeah, that actually reminded me of a story, not at Hilliard Bradley, but in my previous school. It's called Amanda Clear Creek, which is south of Columbus. JV football, right? So we're at a JV football game Saturday morning. Usually not a lot of commotion, right? I mean, you're talking 20 people in the stands. You might have 20 on the home side, another 10, 50 on the visitor side, if that, right? So we actually had a situation where we had a soccer game going on behind us. I'm kind of back and forth. I get a phone call like, "Hey, we got a crazy. I don't know if the word was parents, a crazy fan down here on the visiting side. Come down, check them out. They're yelling at this official." So I come down and get over there, and the officials, you know, waving me over. Hey, Kaz, he's over here. And I get over there, and the JV football game. This is the visiting school's principal, high school principal, who was yelling at this official that I had to kick out. I'm like, Greg, is that you? Like, what are you doing, man? Like, you're the high school principal. Like, what? Didn't have a kid. I'm like, why are you even here? You know, like I saw you at the varsity game last night, but why? So yeah, the high school principal of the visiting team had to get kicked out of a JV football game. He was pretty embarrassed. I don't know if maybe him and this official had a feud, but yeah, I had to walk him, and he had two buddies. I had to walk all three of them out of our stadium, and of course, our fans saw, and everyone knew it was the high school principal. So pretty embarrassing for him, but had a pretty funny conversation walking him out. That was a first for him, especially in his shoes. But that made for a funny conversation next time we saw each other. But to this day, I don't know what he said, but he obviously got that official pretty fired up. But typically not a good look, as you know, to be an administrator getting kicked out of a game. That's not ideal.
Really not a JV game on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, it's one thing if it's a Friday night game and it's a close game and there's a big call, but yeah, a JV game on a Saturday morning. I don't remember the score, but it wasn't a slugfest by any means. So I don't know what he could have said.
Well, you think about, did that principal have to do the anger management class and pay a fine too, or is that just coaches that have to do that?
No, just coaches. Yeah, so as long as they're compliant, you walk over there and kind of talk them down. And once I saw him, he knew who I was. I knew who he was. I'm like, hey, you are, and he knew. He's like, oh, I know. I heard him say it. So he willingly walked out. That's not always the
See,
case, by the
you
way.
guys are thinking of this the wrong way. It was a Saturday morning JV game, and he got kicked out. He willingly walked away. Like he did it on purpose, guys. He didn't want to be there. It's better.
Yeah, maybe you're right. That's a good point. He didn't even have to be there in the first place. That's what I'm like. Why are you even here? Like you don't have to cover this. Like we're not mandated to cover JV Saturday morning games.
You think about it. I mean, even especially if he doesn't have to take an anger management class or pay a fine.
Right.
I mean, what's really the penalty there? I just got to walk away from a JV game on a Saturday morning. Okay.
Yeah. Typically, now
Go to breakfast.
If that was, yeah, exactly. If that was one of our fans, that would have been a further discussion. But I don't know how that school, because normally you would report that to the AD and principal, but that was him. So how am I?
Did
I'm not going to
you?
report that to him. So I don't know if he had a
So
conversation
you
with
did
his
not. I was
superintendent.
say, did you report it to the
Yeah,
other
I ended
AD?
up, yeah, I ended up calling the other AD, and he just kind of laughed it off, like, because normally he would report it to his principal. So I'm like, "Are you going to report it to the guy that got kicked out? Like, how, let me know how you handle that." And we never did. So I don't know if they just laughed it off because it was JV. I don't know, but yeah, normally there would be further discussion, but I would kind of like to know how that was handled behind closed doors because it's pretty funny to think about.
That makes it really hard for the AD for like if a coach did get kicked out and he wanted to like discipline them, I'd be like, sir, well, not sure if you remember, but
Right.
you
Yeah,
did this
exactly.
too.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Put you in a tight
I mean,
spot, no doubt.
it really does for especially the rest of that year at least.
Well, and
Right.
if there's really no teeth to it, like, an athlete, if they get kicked out, they've got to sit the next game, or a coach or whatever, and then
Right.
there's a penalty. But if a principal gets canned and he doesn't have to do anything except walk away and go to
Right.
Waffle House and eat
I'm
breakfast or
telling you,
whatever.
he went to breakfast. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that actually has me wanting to text that AD and see what they, if they ever did anything. I kind of doubt it, it's one of those things. Like I said, if it was a varsity contest, I'm sure there would have been some consequences, but yeah, JV, they probably just brushed that one under the rug, I'm sure.
Our officials association, at least when I was in Arkansas, they report. So anybody thrown out, they send a report to the superintendent. They send a
Florida's the same
report
way.
to whoever that contact is at that school and say,
Yep.
here was a discipline from last night, here's what happened. And so
Yep.
there's enforcement there. But I'd be interested to hear what kind of conversation happened between the principal and whoever else. I mean, obviously, if the AD reported to the principal, that made it kind of a weird conversation. But
For
with the
sure.
superintendent getting involved, what's that like?
Right. And there was never an official report because normally officials have to report that through OSHA in Ohio. And, it never came to me. I don't know if maybe it went to the opposing school. Normally they do, I mean, you're supposed to as an official, but sometimes they don't. So I don't know if they ever got that report or not, and if so, then you have to mark that you put some sort of consequence. So, I kind of forgot about that. I should have followed up, but it has me definitely intrigued at this point.
Yeah, I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes and just having that conversation as you're walking out, being like, hey.
Oh yeah, it was, and like I said, he had two of his friends with him, and the official kicked all three of them out. I think just by association. So I don't know who was the worst of the three, but it was quite the conversation. They did not have great things to say about that official either. So I'm kind of thinking maybe there was a previous feud. A lot of our officials back in that area were locals, so they might have played against each other in high school or something. Maybe had a little bit of little anger, a little animosity there from previous years.
Yeah, at some point you may have said, dude, this is a JV football game. They're
Oh,
not going to be the best officials ever.
Exactly. It's hard to get, good officials for varsity contests, let alone JV. I mean, you're getting who you're getting. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, especially a one-person JV softball umpire that may be looking at home as opposed to
who got the call right at home. I mean, there was no arguments there. She was under the tag, sir. I don't know why you're not angry about that one.
Oh man, I mean, that's definitely an awkward situation. It's better than your principal pretending to get beat up or anything along those lines. But I definitely think that's an awkward situation for you as the AD and for the other school. So,
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and that's what you got to deal with as an AD. I mean, you're making the walk across there thinking, all right, he just chunked somebody.
Right.
And you get over
exactly.
there like, oh my gosh, this is the principal of the other school.
Having no idea. And when I got that phone call, they made it seem like it's pretty serious. So I'm coming down from our soccer field, which is behind the home stands, and I'm walking across the field. Like I didn't go around the track. I'm walking through the field because this official was adamant, waving me up. So everyone sees me walk across. I'm thinking like, this guy threatened his life. Like, who is this guy? Like, is he gonna try to beat me up too? Who knows? It's JV football. Like I might, I might catch some hands too or something. Who knows? And, sure enough, I get closer and closer. I'm like, like I said, his first name. I'm like, Greg. I'm like, what in the world? Like, I'm looking around. I'm like, is it the guy behind you? I'm like, what in the hell's going on here? Like, can't possibly be him, right? Like, you're just shocked as you stop, and he's like, yeah, it's me. I'm ready. Let's go. You
He
know,
wore
so
it.
yeah,
He
just
owned it. Said, "Yeah, it's me."
yeah, because he knows. I mean, he gets it. He was a coach in his previous roles as well, so he got it. Yeah, I think he was just as shocked, and like I said, I don't know if it was mostly him or his two buddies or collaboration, but yeah, was not expecting that at all.
You're reminding me of one of my principals, and I loved working for him. But the first this was varsity football game on Friday night, and I knew he was a former football coach, so I knew this. But it was the first time that I was with him on the sideline at one of our games. So, I've been working at school for like 2 weeks, not even a long time, a week. Don't really know that much quite yet about him or the school. So I'm there and a bad call happens and he loses it on the sideline. And I was not expecting it. So I'm like, pull the shirt back up and
Oh
go
yeah,
off the
rein him in.
sideline. And I was so in that moment, I'm like, what do I do? Like, because he's the person I report to. He's my boss, but
Right.
he would go off, and now and I quickly figured out like, he got really intense and went into football coach mode during football games, but I didn't know it. So like grabbing his shirt or his arm and like pulling him back became a thing. But like that first game, I was like, no one was gonna warn me that was gonna happen.
Throw you right
Like,
into the rules. Yeah, it makes it even better.
so
No warning. They want to see what your reaction would be.
he
Yep.
just goes right into like his like
Oh, yeah.
coaching days, like snaps right back into it, and he's like, blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, okay, here we go. And I'm just like
Flip a
physically going,
switch.
yeah.
Never,
He never got kicked out, but there were a couple times where I'm like, okay, we're done. We have to stop now. Like this is good.
that sort of reminds me when you're watching college football, on Saturdays, and there's that designated, hold me back coach that's tugging on that shirt. I mean, usually it's like your big strength and conditioning coach who's pulling back those coaches to stop them from getting a personal foul. So that's exactly what that reminds me of. It's a real thing. I mean, that's a paid position these days.
Yeah, we had a guy this year, an official that we're at a soccer game, and he's adamant, similar to what you said. That official was just adamant, saying, "Hey, I need you." So I go out on the field, and he says, "All right, I need this guy thrown out." And I said, "Which guy is this guy?" And he said, "Well, the one in black."
Oh, that really narrows it down.
And I
Especially if the school you're playing is black, right?
Yeah, thanks. Okay.
I was like, okay. And
That's
so
good.
it was similar to what Matthew told us. This guy volunteered himself. He just came down and he came and talked to me, and he was from another school. He was actually a chiropractor in that town, and he was there for the boys game, but his daughters played in the second game. So he said, "Dustin, I guess I said something. I don't know." He told me to shut up at first, and I shut up, and I didn't say anything else. And he tossed me. And I said, "Well, I'm not even sure it was you." So I put him in what I call parent jail. I just put him upstairs in the press box and shut him in there and make sure that said the guy can't hear you.
Right.
The guy,
Windows
you
are
can yell
closed.
all you want. And but anyway, he was like, "Man, I just came to watch my daughters play, and they played the second game." I said, "Man, I'll make sure this happens," because one, he didn't identify who it really was.
Right.
So this guy volunteered himself, like Matthew had that person volunteering himself to get all his penalties that he got.
Right.
But it was unique, and especially you go in that situation. Usually, they know what they've done. Usually, but the official didn't even know which one had said whatever he said. It was just the one in the black, and I was like, "Man, there's a bunch of people in black up here." So
the entire stands like, oh, wow.
Yeah, okay,
We'll clear this place out.
Yeah, anybody want to volunteer here? And that guy came down, and thankfully, so I just said, "Oh, we'll compromise and put him in the press box." So he didn't have to leave. He just got to stay there and watch his daughters play. Because at the end of the day, I wanted him to be able to watch his daughters, but he had to do so in a respectful manner, obviously.
Yeah, that speaking of soccer, that reminds me of another story this year of having to kick out of a coach that we were playing against. And, the official came over and said, "Hey, their head coach needs to go." I'm like, which one's their head coach? And their head coach was wearing a Kobe Bryant jersey to coach in. A 24 Kobe Bryant jersey. Now their school colors, and it was a gold one. That I'm a big Kobe fan, but their school colors were like green and white.
And then we said it was soccer.
Yeah, it was soccer. I'm like, "You mean, Kobe Bryant over there?" He's like, "Yeah, that's him." So, so it wasn't I mean, I don't remember what he did now. I mean, probably said something. He obviously got a red card, right? So had to walk him out. But, like, as we're walking out, I just couldn't stop but, like, laugh in my head, like, "This dude is coaching in a Kobe Bryant jersey." And I love Kobe. Like, if I was in my office now, I'd show you that I have the same jersey hanging on my wall. But having been a coach, I would not coach in a Kobe Bryant jersey, let
But
alone
it's
a
not
different sport.
I was saying it's
Right.
not even the right
Wrong sport.
sport.
It's the wrong
Yeah.
sport. And as an AD, like I would not let my coach wear like any jersey. Like wear school colors, right? Wear something that says, whatever that school name is, soccer, or at least the right color. At least wear green. Like, why are you wearing a Kobe Bryant jersey? That's all I could think about. I was like, why is this dude wearing Kobe Bryant? Like, where did he go wrong? And nothing against, I love Kobe, but what are we doing here?
I mean, Lionel Messi, maybe David
Right?
Beckham or something like that. Okay,
Yeah, we're the right sport, but yeah,
I
yeah.
can
So
get
that was
maybe.
interesting. So yeah, who'd you kick out today? Well, I kicked out Kobe Bryant. Now, given this guy was about 5'5", so nowhere near the the stature of Kobe, but yeah, yeah. I just thought of that as you guys were talking about soccer.
Maybe he was
Yeah,
channeling his
incredible.
Mamba mentality. He was trying to get into that.
He was trying to, and it took him a while. He was outside the fence, would make it a few links down and then look in, and so yeah,
So
that was
as you were walking
quite
him
the
out,
game.
you weren't like, so why the jersey? You didn't go down that road.
He just kept telling his story of what he didn't do wrong and what he didn't say that was said right. So he just kept giving me that song and dance, and so I couldn't get a word in because it was just like, well, I didn't actually say that. I didn't really do that, and he said this, and I'm just like, man, at this point, I really don't care what you said or even what the official said. Like, we're now outside the fence, and you have a Kobe Bryant jersey on, so let's just keep making this walk. Like, what else is there to say? Like, usually I just at that point I got him outside of the fenced in area outside the stadium. Like, you might as well just keep talking, get it out of your system. I mean, what am I gonna say? Like,
Your
yeah, it's
credibility has taken a
embarrassing.
huge hit right here. You're wearing a Kobe
Yeah,
Bryant jersey to coach soccer.
right. And I kicked him out on the visitor side, so to get to their bus, he had to walk all the way around the outside of the fence, and it was nice and slow, methodical, and everyone could see us. Slowly walking in. Might as well have held hands. It was so slow. So
Did
yeah, it was good
did
stuff.
you call that AD and like tell them like, hey, not only did I kick your head coach out, he was wearing Kobe
Yes.
Bryant jersey?
Yes.
What
Yeah,
did they
actually,
say?
so the official wrote that up. That was an official report that he got a red card, got ejected. So I had to forward that to the AD. I didn't say anything about the Kobe Bryant jersey, but I had to forward that and let him know what I heard and my side of it. But no, he was pretty upset, so I don't think he would have found any humor in the fact that he had a Kobe jersey on. But I would have loved to have brought that up. But yeah, he was pretty upset about that. So
See, and
had we
that's
had
what I don't
talked,
understand.
I would have said it.
Like, baseball is the only sport where a coach wears the uniform of the players.
Jersey.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Soccer, they don't do it. I mean, there's
Nope.
no other sport. Volleyball, you're not wearing spandex out there coaching. I mean,
No, wouldn't that be a sight?
at what point?
Oh man.
I'm just trying to figure out at what point did he look in the mirror and say, "This is a great idea right here."
And that's what I would love to know. I would love, and I hope he comes back. I have to check the schedule. I don't know.
You have homework,
we
guys.
would
You
be
have
at their
follow-up
place.
questions for your stories. We need answers.
I do. Yeah. If we do play them again, which I don't believe we do, but if we do, it'd be at their place. So if so, I'm definitely going to mark on the calendar that I'm away that night, so someone will cover our home events. So I'm gonna see if that's his norm. Maybe he's got the purple jersey at home, like, or maybe he wears the white at home. So hopefully he's got the number 8. If you're gonna wear Kobe, you got to have both the 24 and the 8. You got to represent both Kobe's. So.
Yeah, I don't even know what I would do, and I would be very confused. I'd be like, "Are you?" I would almost question if they were a coach. Like, are you sure you're a coach?
Well, yeah. I mean, I actually thinking back when they first walked in, I kind of thought, because it was a smaller guy. Yeah, no offense, but kind of blended in with high school crowd. No, didn't have any facial hair or anything. So, I kind of thought maybe it was a team manager or maybe one of the players. was built like a soccer player. Maybe, thought it was cool to come in with a Kobe jersey on. But sure enough, the game went on and that guy was controlling their sideline. So, it didn't hit me till the game started. Like, oh no, like that's not a little kid or a manager. Like that's a full grown man coaching this team. Like, wow, okay. So that's what we're doing,
Full grown.
So, full grown.
Here's what we've established. If you're around Kaz, you just be ready. There's no telling what you're about to see from officials, from players, from coaches,
I mean,
principals.
No, you never know. You never know.
Kaz has his games on lockdown. This is what I've heard. He kicks out principals and Kobe Bryant. Like you have to behave when you go to his games because there's a T list that will not.
And keep
be
in
allowed
mind too, Kobe Bryant is actually my favorite basketball player of all time too. So, that was a new one for me. It'd be a little different if it was, an old rival of Kobe's or something like that. But yeah, I mean that's my guy. Like I said, his jersey's hanging in my office. Should have taken his jersey too. I could have had two of them up there. Could have been part of the punishment.
Here's your penance. Give me that jersey.
Yeah.
What are you doing right here? Take your shirt off. It's not good.
Had it been, if he would have, like I said, if he would have had the purple 8 or the white 8, I would have, absolutely snatched that thing up. Those are hard to get now. So.
Well, Kaz, man, I'm glad because we jumped on here thinking, okay, where are we going to roll with this? And we've spent most of this looking through an official's lens, which is, I think, a unique lens to look through. And even as athletic administrators, you get the appreciation of all kinds. And it takes all kinds to make these sporting events happen. And it takes all kinds of people with opinions that are really vocal and think they're right no matter what. And I think it's hilarious that he walked out telling you what he didn't say or what he should have said or how he was right or
never fails.
Yeah, the argument's
that's why
always
we have
there.
The 24-hour rule, right? Those stories change the next day, we come back to earth a little bit after that.
Right. Emotions subdue and you become a lot smarter after that.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I definitely appreciate you taking the time out. I know you said that you wore a lot of different hats and you just recently, this is your second year of being an AD officially, right?
Yeah. Yep. I was an assistant AD for 2 years in the past as well. But yeah, second full year. So going on year 3 as an AD. So still pretty early in the game. I'm sure you catch me in a few more years. We're going to need a 4-hour Zoom to get all those in.
No, absolutely. And you have some good ones. I mean, and kicking and walking people out and doing, like you said, the walk of shame out of the stadium isn't a good time. It's not a good walk to have. But I feel like you're perfecting that art quickly. So
it's one of those things like, you might as well let them talk and try to see a little. It's hard to see a lot of positive in that because there's a lot of work to come with that. But there's no reason to lighten that fire. You might as well let them all out and, hear all those choice words and what they have to say and, let them keep on going. You might as well get it out. Let's hear it.
But here's what I want to do. Years 4, 5, and 6, we need to have you back on as a guest at some point and just say, okay, have you had any more official story? Anybody else wear a jersey to a game as a coach?
We want to know who else you kicked out.
Tossed out.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see a Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, maybe Isaiah Thomas, some old school, but at this point, it's more likely to be LeBron or, Steph Curry, probably get a little bit more modern, I'm sure. But, I would love to see a throwback. Wearing a Larry Bird jersey, rocking that green 33 would be a hell of a way to coach.
To anything but a basketball game.
Yes. Yeah. Any sport but. Yeah. Don't wear the same sport jersey. You got to go with a different sport when you wear
that. Absolutely.
Well, Kaz, I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for getting off the links and making some time for us. I know that you recently had a birthday, which was yesterday as of with this recording. So hopefully you got to, they say you become really good in golf if you shoot your age. So if you shot a 33, I'm really impressed.
Not quite. We got to add at least 10 to that score. At least 10, which isn't bad. I try to play some bogey ball. So I actually think I did. I only played 9 holes. I think I did have a 45. So only my second time out. I'm usually about a 12 handicap, but, I'm about 20 right now. So it's still early in the game. AD life does not treat your golf game well. Let's put it that way.
No, it does not help your game at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, Kaz, I appreciate you joining us, brother. We finally got this scheduled. We've had a marathon trying to get this thing going, but I appreciate you jumping on here with us, and I appreciate your stories and your perspective, and I'm glad we connected.
Yeah,
thank absolutely.
You very much.
Yeah. Thank you guys both. It was a pleasure being on here, and I would love to join again.
All right, we'll have you on again, brother.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That wraps up this episode. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our sponsor, Wall of Fame, who excels at telling your school's stories and supports us in telling ours. Check out the description of this episode for a link to receive a discount on all Wall of Fame products. We are looking forward to the next story and hope you are too.